Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen. So we answered a question, you answered the question, I posed the question last week on behalf of somebody from India. I just wanted to touch back and say that they said, thank you so much, Dr. Doreen and Mrs. Shannon, for answering my question. Skills is such a wonderful resource. Just the first follow-up was, I just sent a question from India. What I meant, because she had asked the question about mastering and what criteria for mastering, and she said what I meant is, how do you decide that this child does not require intensive ABA anymore? What percentage of lessons does the child need to know from skills? And thank you. And so she asked the criteria percentage. Decide working on a particular curricular area, does one need to work on every lesson? And we answered that one. So the follow-up was,
so she was just wanted to kind of globally know, when do you know you're done, right?
Yeah.
And I've never thought of it in terms of a percentage of lessons. I think what ends up happening is that children leave the program at different points. So one child might know 90% of the lessons in language and 80% of the social or whatever it is. And another child will have completely different percentages, and that's the way it should be, because we're very different people. Some people are more fluent in language, other people are more social, other people are more academically gifted. You know, we have different strengths. So the concept is not necessarily that you have to be 100% at every curriculum area. But the idea for me is, first of all, ABA continues to work forever, really. So it's not something that you, well, on the one hand, you do finish a formal sitting down and doing lessons, and I think for me it's more important that the child is doing well in his or her environment. And I think that means, let's just, how old is the child? I think 9, I read somewhere. Yes. So that means your child should be able to have friends, socialize with the friends, do well in school, feel very comfortable, not have a lot of anxiety around things, do well at home. Essentially, the two environments that your child is in are school and home, and as long as the child is functioning like a typical child in those two environments, then you don't need to keep doing lessons. And that is, I guess it's easy for me, but it's a little bit harder to determine, because what does it mean when we say functioning like a typical child? And that basically means that he or she will have strengths in certain areas and weaknesses in other areas, but in general, indistinguishable from peers is sort of the way to look at it. And until that point, I guess I would still do work on the areas that need help. I look at it like tutoring, you know?
Yeah. I can tell you that when I look back on our journey and how hard it was starting a CARD program, which is basically, the curricula that's in skills, and how it took me so long to settle into, this is our new routine.
Yeah.
Like, it just took me, I was resentful.
Yeah.
Just going to be honest, I was resentful, and I was like, it really kind of bites that I don't get to go to Gymboree, that we're here working on this, and everything is so painstaking. And then about the 2-year mark, acceptance started to come in of, this is our reality, and here's what's good about it.
Right.
And look at how much progress we're making, and our path is not like anybody else's, and grab a whoopee and get over that.
Right.
Like, our path is great in some ways. In some ways, it's better than what other people have, and look for the blessings. And then we got to the mark where I said, I wanted to do 4 years because that was what I was told it would take. And we crested the 4-year mark, and I didn't want to leave.
Yeah, things go the other way,
I was
right?
like, no, this works. So
I'm
let's
not
not
done.
mess.
I'm not done.
And he's not done. And what? No. And about at the 4.5-year mark, they gave us the 6 months notice that he's, about to be done. And I had a little bit of a panic attack and was like, what? Like, the thing that I had been pushing for
always
5
happens.
years was like that day arrived, and I thought it was going to be the ticker tape parade out in the street kind of thing. And instead I was like, no, we're not there. This is not the time. No,
It always
no, please
happens.
don't.
That always happens.
And I didn't feel ready. He, though, had said, what do I have to do for this to end?
Right.
And the reason why was not because, don't anybody mistake and think, oh, he wasn't having fun anymore. It was that he had already learned how to have that level of fun with kids his own age instead of the therapist.
That's so great.
So he was like, see you later. I've got other friends now.
Right.
You're interrupting my time with my friends now.
Right.
So he literally said, what do I have to do? Like, I'm done with this. Can we be done with this? And he said it to Dr. Sienna Green Wooten,
Right.
of all people,
Yeah.
right? And she was like, really? Okay, here are the 5 things. And then said to me, yeah, we're 6 months from being out.
That's awesome.
And I was like, but he doesn't have that, but he will. He'll have those 5 things. But I thought, but there's all these other things.
Right.
And I kept being reminded by everybody that now he's not going to stop learning and growing, and ABA isn't going to stop here, but it all needs to be out in the real world now.
Right.
He's done all the classroom, and now he has to take it out there. And I just didn't see how that was going to work.
Right.
And there were times afterwards where I think I got a little off course as a parent, because I think that happens.
Of course.
But we continued to work on things, just not this intensive.
Right.
I really want parents to know that, because I know you guys all think, oh, well, if I start doing this, it's the rest of my life.
Right.
But it isn't how you think it is. It's the rest of your
No.
life that you have this new way of looking at things that works.
That's right.
This is not a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think I remember with all of our kids, right? We do certain phases of their lives, you focus on one thing or another. You have to. You pay attention to what's going on in their lives, and you figure out what their needs are at that given time, right? And you focus on that thing. And then they master it, hopefully, and then you move on and you go back to just your regular other routine. But the regular other routine still involves remnants of that, right? It's just sort of like you'll never really, once you know ABA, you never stop doing ABA. Like, it's such an effective way of interacting with your environment and making behavior change that you never stop using it for your
It just
child.
makes so much sense.
Right.
And it works unfailingly. It
Right.
works, especially if when you see that it isn't working, you step back and go, well, what element of this could I change? And then it works.
Right.
Like, it just becomes your new operating system.
Exactly.
That you wouldn't want anybody to take away from you, because it actually
It works. Exactly.
And your kid is happy, and your kid is making progress. So why would you wouldn't
Right.
want to change that?
Right.
Yeah.
And you don't just apply it to your kid. Like, you just go through life this way. I think of, I make a list on my desk, on my crazy desk and my crazy life. I still make a list of all the people that I need to reward.
Yeah.
And and it's a continual list,
Yeah.
right? It's like, okay, so-and-so is doing a great job. I need to, and that's ABA. That's ABA. I wouldn't be doing that if it wasn't for the science.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's made me a better wife.
For sure.
I don't think my husband usually notices when I'm ABAing him, and that's how we refer to it. I don't
Stop ABAing me.
No, but he doesn't notice it. He doesn't pick up on it. But when I do remember to do that, I think I'm a better wife. The person that, rest his soul in peace, the person who would call me out on all the time was Nancy's husband, Reed. He would go, Shannon, you're ABAing me right now, and I notice it.
Are you serious?
That was my relationship with Reed. He would be like, there it is. Shannon's ABAing me.
Aw.
Yeah, and we would have that whole little experience.
Right.
But Reed would notice it. My husband doesn't notice. He's just happy.
Yeah.
He's just happy that things are like, it's so much better than when I'm not ABA.
Yes, of course.
Right. And I think it has made me a better person to work with and a better person to work for. And I try to be mindful of that, of people on our team. The thing that I'm still learning always is the preference assessment.
Oh, right.
Because like a lot of people, I have the assumption, oh, well, they will want what I want.
Right.
And reward them with things that I think that will be meaningful.
That's such a good point. Well, I think we all forget about that. I think that's just, we just project, you know, and we always think, I'm going to reward so-and-so the way that I'd like to be rewarded. And it's quite different. You're right.
It's so
You're right.
different.
Absolutely.
It's so different. And
Absolutely.
asking people, you know, at a time when it isn't essential, you know, what is it that makes you feel rewarded?
For sure.
And noticing when you do something, what makes them feel rewarded.
Right.
And but not necessarily writing that in stone.
Right.
Especially with our kids.
Right.
Because I notice something that my kid finds reinforcing, and then I like keep pushing that button. Mm-hmm. And at a certain point, he's like, yeah, that was 3 years ago.
We're done with that. You know, I was thinking about that the other day because I was talking to Sonny, and I was like, what is that noise? It was late at night, and he was doing something upstairs. And, you know, he doesn't live with us, but he was here now for the summer, right? And I was like, what's going on? So the next day I asked him, I was like, what was all that noise? He was like, oh, I was playing Minecraft. And I thought of Jen, and I was like, I thought they grow out of that, but I guess once in a while you go back to the old reinforcers.
Because if I said something about Minecraft to my son right
Jen
now,
would be like, I'm so past that.
Like, that is so 2005.
Exactly, exactly.
You know, and then I have to do the math. I'm like, oh, it's not 2005 anymore. You know, I'm still writing checks dating them 1979, so there we go. You know?
There you are.
And I didn't even have a checking account in 1979, so there we have what that's about. Anyway, we digressed. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back with more of your questions, so stick with us, and if you want to write into us right now, do it. You can tell us that we've gone far afield. All right, we'll be right back. Hey, thanks for watching Autism Live. To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.